There's this incredibly legendary figure in Chinese history, widely known as the longest living person in China, Peng Zhu. Legend has it, he lived for a mind-blowing 880 years and married 45 wives. Naturally, there are countless myths and stories about him circulating among the people. I'm sure most people's first reaction is, come on, that must just be a myth. It couldn't possibly be real. But what's interesting is that many ancient Chinese texts contain very specific records of his longevity. The Shanhaijing, Shoushenzhi, and Liexian, Zhuan all mention him. Now, you might be thinking those books are pretty fantastical and not very trustworthy. However, the very first chapter of Sima Qian's records of the Grand Historian, the basic annals of the 5 emperors, clearly states that Peng Zhu was already serving under Emperor Yao. Plus, the Dadai Liji records that Peng Zhu was a foundational minister of the dynasty. At the age of 672, he was still holding office. He didn't pass away until the 7th ruler of the Shang dynasty. So, did Peng Zhu really live that long? This debate has actually been ongoing. Some people argue that the 880 years mentioned in the records isn't the same as our current understanding of 880 years. They suggest it might have been calculated using the small Jiazi system. The Jiazi here is basically a small cycle equal to 60 days. In ancient times, some people use one small Jiazi to represent 1 year, so a year was just 60 days. If you calculate it that way, Peng Zhu would have only lived for about 140 years. But people quickly pushed back on that idea. China's lunar calendar, which included the 24 solar terms and a 365-day year, was already established during the Xia dynasty. An agricultural society really depended on that accurate calendar for planting and harvesting. So 365 days a year was common knowledge back then. Since Peng Zhu was still alive in the Shang dynasty, which followed the Xia dynasty, it seems unlikely they'd still be using the small Jiazi system. Furthermore, historical documents show Peng Zhu was a key official under Emperor Yao and was still active into the Shang dynasty. That's definitely more than just a little over 100 years. Speaking of that, there's a well-loved story about him. It's said that when Emperor Yao was dealing with the floods, the constant stress over his tribe's safety made him gravely ill and bedridden. For days, he couldn't even drink water. He was practically on his deathbed. That's when Peng Zhu cooked him a pheasant soup. Before the soup even reached him, Emperor Yao smelled the incredible aroma, immediately jumped out of bed, and drank the whole thing. After that, Peng Zhu made him chicken soup every day, and Emperor Yao went on to live for over 100 years. Why did Peng Zhu live so long? He is said to have had 3 secrets to longevity. The first is the one we just mentioned, diet. Take the chicken soup, for example. We have a Chinese saying, food is better than medicine. You need to eat well and know what to eat. Peng Zhu had another key insight, summarized in 8 characters. The union of male and female, moderation in the bedroom. This is actually a little different from the typical longevity advice you hear, which is often about practicing celibacy. Peng Zhu argued that the union of husband and wife reflects the balance of heaven and earth, yin and yang, which aligns with nature's laws and promotes a long life. The key is moderation in the bedroom. You must be disciplined and not excessive. Additionally, over 4,000 years ago, Peng Zhu developed the Qigong and Daoyin techniques, early forms of fitness and physical exercises. So China's first health expert essentially told us that if you want to live a long time, you need to eat right, practice self-control, and get proper exercise. Reaching 100 or maybe even 800 years might just be possible. The topic of longevity also reminds me of a huge mystery from Sumer, the Sumerian king list. This is truly wild. The king list tracks the reigns of the Sumerian emperors, but their units of time are frankly terrifying. Their kings' reigns are measured in sars. 1 sar is 3,600 years. A smaller unit, the Ner, is 600 years. The emperors of their earliest dynasty often ruled for multiple sars, meaning they were supposedly living for tens of thousands of years, but after the Great Flood recorded in their history, their lifespan suddenly dropped drastically. It slowly fell to thousands, then hundreds of years, and finally became the few decades we consider normal now. This is actually what inspired the famous author Zechariah Sitchin to write the Earth Chronicles. He believed that hundreds of thousands of years ago, the Anunnaki from the planet Nibiru brought a highly advanced civilization to Earth and created humankind. When these aliens left, they supposedly intended to use a great flood to wipe out the remaining people. However, some of the Anunnaki couldn't bring themselves to do it and secretly saved a small group. Sadly, those survivors didn't have the incredible lifespans their creators did.